It's like I'm walking on sunshine.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome. It's Doomcast number 21. My name is... Again? Yes. Part 2.
Part 2.
We have Charlie McGrath with us by the hair of his chinny chin chin. Somehow we've made it happen.
Bloody mess.
21 episodes into the podcast, and we're still dicking around with the computers. That's all right.
Yeah, we are. You know what we need? We need the system. I don't know what the system is, but we need it. Because here's the deal. It seems like the last couple of weeks, you and I have just ran into massive issues. Can you hear me okay now, even? I hope you can hear me.
It sounds great now.
All right, good. I don't know what I did, but apparently it's working. Doomcast 21. Doug, it's been a blast, and I'm having a good time. But I want to tell you that the last Doomcast 20 just smashed all download or listens or views on YouTube. We were usually running 1,000 to 1,500, right? Downloads a week. That
on the YouTube, yeah.
On the YouTube alone.
Right.
2,703, I think it's what it's at right now. So thank you to everybody who is making it over to YouTube and listening to Doomcast there. Look, an hour
it has
of
to be
audio.
It has to be a testament to the Doomers out there propagating
Absolutely.
the word and telling other people about the podcast. It has to be. Because we don't have a budget. We don't have millions of dollars. We don't have
It's organic in nature.
Indeed. It's listener supported.
Listener supported, organic in nature. 2,700. That is what, 50? I don't even know. What was it? 70 minutes? That's a long time to listen, and they're listening through the whole thing. For the most part, most listeners are hanging out through the whole thing. So, thank you to everybody who continues to support this, and that's what we do. We're going to keep doing it as long as people want to hear it, and it keeps growing.
Yeah, absolutely. Have you seen my Christmas jammies? Have you seen this YouTube viral video? 7 million people have watched it. No? Oh,
That's
man.
depressing.
I was gonna play it, but one of the reasons that we're never going to hit this huge crescendo with the podcast on YouTube, I think, is because I think the show is actually very entertaining, but it's not mindless entertainment. And so I'm watching this, and everybody's seen it. And if you haven't, go ahead.
I'm looking at it right now. I'm going there right now.
Yeah.
What's the name of it? My Christmas Jammies?
Christmas jammies. So basically, it's this guy. He sends out a Christmas card. I'll summate for us. He sends out a his Christmas card, a video Christmas card. It's basically he and his wife bragging about their children and their perfect life. The child knows how to count to 100 in Chinese, which will probably be pretty handy here in the future. So this guy, he got 7 million views to his video. So I give him credit where credit is due. And the guy is going to probably make a lot of money for himself making these videos. And he says that he's going to do this for politicians and for TV shows and skits or something like that in the actual song. So it's kind of a pump for his own, changing a job into this full time and getting into the YouTube business. So there's a lot of money to be made in the entertainment industry and on YouTube. But unfortunately, I don't think that we're going to have this mass appeal because people love mindless crap. And if it's cutesy, if there's kittens or maybe Grumpy Cat, I mean, they're all over it. You start talking about some of the things that we'll talk about, and I want to get to Syria first and foremost. But you're not going to get that kind of response. I mean, I'm excited about 2,700 viewers, and ultimately, I imagine it would probably be in the 3,000 to 4,000 range. And I'm not really sure why it was so popular, but comparatively, but I'm pretty excited about it. But it's nothing. It pales in comparison. I think that, even bad podcasts that still talk about relevant info should at least get hundreds of thousands of people watching them. So, there's as excited as I am when you compare it to something like a viral video or maybe a Justin Bieber song.
Yeah.
We've got a long way to go.
Well, true. First of all, is my audio still good?
It's great.
Because I don't have the Christmas.
Now you're
jammy
self-conscious.
budget.
Don't worry about it. I'll let you know. I'll tell you.
Look, it's been if you have self-conscious phobia, tonight for me has been it. My audio isn't working.
You're bleeding.
I'm hemorrhaging. I'm hemorrhaging like I got shot in my jugular, and it just not stopped for the last hour and a half. And to top it all off, I recorded Wide Awake News Radio live video. Gary Hendershot recorded that for us. And so if you want to see something funny, go to my YouTube channel here in a couple hours, and you'll see me hemorrhaging all over the program tonight. So it was a good time. But I on that note, the funny things that, how about the honey badger, 50 billion views or whatever, something like that. I don't think is that a testament to the dumbing down of a populace, or have we always been? We've always had something, people have always turned to something to fill their time or to entertain them. I don't think that because Christmas Jammies get 7 million views, or that ridiculous stuff gets a ton of views is necessarily an indication that we're damned.
No, and it's not something that's just U.S. centric. This is cutesy videos are popular in China or in Russia, Germany, wherever, Finland. People like funny videos, but but it goes to show you that people don't want to talk about politics. People are uninformed. And I was having a great conversation with a friend of mine. I won't name drop, but basically, no. But we were talking about the fact that we're laymen's. I look at what's happening in the world geopolitically, and I can see through most of it. If you just are somewhat of a skeptic, if you're somewhat jaded, you understand that power, the consolidation thereof, energy, and the future for the few is really the ultimate goal. You can see through most of the things that are, the veneer of democracy, the veneer of autonomy in this country and personal liberty and all of the different, bills. Go ahead.
No, I concur. I agree that there's a lot of distraction. There's plenty of distraction, and there is a coordinated effort, I believe, to have the majority of people tune in to what is supposed to be news, which really isn't. It's more infotainment, and it's presenting an agenda, and that certainly is an issue. But once in a while, I think it's kind of hilarious when you do see something like the honey badger video or something along those lines. A brief momentary pause to smile and enjoy something for a few minutes, I think, is healthy. To be completely dumbed down and to completely be absorbed in infotainment is the damning of a nation, no doubt about it.
If you were cuter and you bled less on video, we could get a lot more YouTube videos going out there. I'm just saying.
That's a good point. That's a damn good point. I gotta, you tell me what to do, Doug, and I'll follow your lead on this. We both have this. We both have the same haircut.
Yeah.
We both kind of look like each other. A
little bit.
Yeah. So maybe one of us has to step out. Maybe I should gain 150 pounds, go for the big round head and long hair, and try to get Duck Dynasty action going on here.
Duck Dynasty. What's the deal with the media going after all of these Southerners? They build them up. Who's that fat chick that cooked with a lot? Her, but the other lady that cooks a lot with butter.
Oh yeah.
She had a restaurant in Vegas. She's a big lady.
She's a big gal.
What was her name? Do you remember?
I don't know. I know what you're talking about.
Dean,
she made some
Paula Dean.
Yeah, Paula Dean. Yeah, she had made some comment, were they racial comments or something?
Right. Said an N-bomb somewhere, some disgruntled employee. I don't know the backstory, and really
Dog
doesn't.
Dog the bounty hunter said something racial, lost his program for a while.
Yeah. Now you got Phil from Duck Dynasty, and he said that I didn't actually watch the clip, but basically he had an interview with, was it GQ or some magazine? It doesn't matter. It's irrelevant, but
it's relevant. Yeah.
It might be relevant, but basically equating homosexuality or trying to make an analogy between that and bestiality. It's his personal opinion. And it's so funny to me to see people that are so shocked that he would dare say this. What do you think this guy's opinion is? He hunts all day long. He kills animals. And
look at him. Look at him.
Look at the guy.
Yeah. And that's not saying that disparagingly.
No.
I'm in Montana, so I know that look, right? And
right.
He's a good old boy. He's and what do you think his opinion's going to be? He's a pronounced Christian. right? So that obviously is very important to them and their family. So when he's asked the question about homosexuality, or when he gets led into that conversation and he gives his opinion, which, it isn't like he's some kind of isolated incident. That is an opinion that is shared by many people across this country. So where is the shock and awe in this? It's turned into that by the establishment media, and it's something that they can grab onto and again distract for a while.
Well, not only that, but it gets people to self-censor. They're scared to lose whatever gig they have, and they learn that if they don't play the game, that if they dare speak out or speak to their beliefs in whatever God or personal moral code that drives them, that is bad. That you can't say these things if you espouse them. That you may lose out. And if you want to be rich, and if you want money, and if you want fame, and you want to excel in life, you just have to shut your mouth. And that's what each and every one of these cases, regardless of the person. I'm not a Paula Deen fan. I've never watched any of her shows. I've watched Duck Dynasty a few times. My wife likes it, and I think it's kind of cute because it's somewhat moral. But the fact that people believe that it's a reality TV show and the whole thing is so scripted, it shows kind of a disconnect. I don't have anything against it because I understand why people like it, because it's actually about family and morals and living off the land. So why wouldn't you like it comparative, to maybe what's happening with the Wives of Jersey, or one of these ridiculous shows where they're just all stabbing each other in the back. I mean, at least from what I saw, it was about family, and it was about taking care of others. So
you think that's why they went after him? I mean, you think it doesn't follow the script with this sensational slutty wives of wherever? I mean,
no. But I'm saying is that's why it's popular, because people are tired of the other. People are tired of depravity. At least a lot of people out there, and it's brand safe. At least it was, and that's why it was so popular. Excuse me, because Clorox and Nestle and whoever, Monsanto, can get behind this message. Now that they've done this, now it's tainted. Now, and we were talking about this earlier, how the LGBT community has turned into this weapon, this arm that the George Soros and the U.S. AIDS and all of these other groups are using to go after people like Vladimir Putin. With the Winter Olympics, we were joking about that during one of the breaks there, during your Wide Awake News show. So it's really surreal, and I think that it's important to talk about it just because it sets this precedent. We get used to this idea. I mean, that's you were talking earlier about how Christmas is very special to you. Now there's so much political awareness and so many different groups and political action committees being offended. That's really what it comes down to. This is a time when everybody cries that somebody's forcing something on them, and God forbid you say Merry Christmas. You got to censor yourself at work. I think about this. Anybody that has to work in corporate America has to adhere to these ridiculous rules. So I think it's very relevant to all of us.
I don't disagree. I mean, I think it's relevant to the point that it is good to be aware of this and to see how the establishment media and to see how culture in general is trying to be shape-shifted to get you to push towards this political correctness. And it's also good to be self-aware to see how this is being used as a major distraction and how it's being used to divert your attention from real issues, right, that are important to your future. Do I care if Doug Owens says Happy Hanukkah, Happy Holiday, Merry Christmas, or if he bites the heads off chickens to celebrate it? I don't care. It doesn't affect me in the slightest bit, but I'm sure going to be made to be aware if you do something that's outside that cultural norm. And while I'm paying attention to what's going on outside that cultural norm and what you're doing wrong or what this program or the next program is doing wrong, I'm not paying attention to what's going on in Syria, or as you want to talk about, or what's going on with the NSA, or what's going on with economics around this world. I'm not paying attention to those big issues that are going to impact my future and my family's future. I'm paying attention to this garbage, this gladiator garbage BS that we're inundated with. And every year it gets worse and worse. This person said this. Oh my gosh, we can't let this go out on the air. We can't have this kind of thing happening in our courthouse or in our schools. And it's complete lunacy. And just, I mean, I think it is important to talk about it, but it's also important for us, at least on this program, on Doomcast, to show that, look, yeah, these things are being talked about. They're being made a big issue. And it's important to realize what's happening behind the scenes, what's happening outside of this freak show that it just seems like everything is turning into. Everything that can be made sensational and everything that can be made shocking is being put before the people, and the people are responding to it by engorging in it, right? They're just like dieting on this stuff. and that way, when something happens, yeah, exactly. And when something happens, like, I don't know, now all of a sudden Assad is the man in Syria, and we're worried about Al-Qaeda coming into play if Assad's not the man, the same guy that was compared to Hitler just a few weeks ago, and he is the go-to guy for the West. These kind of stories, yeah, they don't even get play because it's not as cool as the Duck Dynasty guy talking about homosexuals.
Well, you're more offended by that than you are by the government stealing money from you and using it to whatever it may be. I mean, the other injustices that are really, really offensive and that we should be appalled not only at, but the fact that we don't know about it, and that a lot of people trust us and the alternative media over that. And I think it's really important to note this. So we're talking about Syria, and you and I, we inundate ourselves with the daily news, but I don't listen to a lot of other talk shows. I do listen to a few podcasts, and I get some talk radio in the car while I'm commuting, or I take a podcast with me. So there's a few of them out there that I'm a big fan of. And from time to time, I listen to I watch the Joe Rogan podcast. Are you familiar with Joe Rogan?
Absolutely. He's a comedian, also UFC announcer, and he has a podcast, the Joe Rogan Experience.
Right.
I think he does a pretty good job.
I do as well. And he had a comedian, a guy that became very popular. His name's Lee Camp. You may be familiar with him as well. He does some pretty epic rants that I think are pretty funny. And he's been on a lot of shows, from Max Kaiser's show to he's just been around. He's been on Alex Jones's show. He's been on a bunch of shows, and so he's kind of popular. He's a comedian, but he injects a lot of political humor and wit into it as well. And he's the guy you may remember. He kind of made his appearance on the scene because Fox News, in desperation for ratings, decided to have this guy on. They didn't really know much about him. And so he did this epic rant where he basically told all of the listeners, just turn off Fox News. It's all war propaganda. They're not talking about the 1 million people that have been killed in Iraq. It's garbage. Hug your children. Go outside. Of course, I paraphrase. So anyway, he was on the Joe Rogan podcast, and Joe Rogan was talking about Syria. And he was saying, well, this may be the first time that we've ever seen the American public become so aware and so politically awake that they've actually been able to shift the war doctrine and to change history and to convince Barack Obama that war in Syria is unnecessary, and it was public pushback. And so I said, I like where you're going here. I like what you're saying, and this is the general perception. And of course, we talked about Syria and the lead up and this huge ramp up to war with Syria, and this huge lead up in the sanctions that went in order, along with this, posturing to attack Iran financially. And well, the people over there in Tel Aviv can't stop banging the drum, as well as some of the other players in the region, namely Saudi Arabia. So, not to throw Joe Rogan or Lee Camp under the bus, but it shows you that even when you go to the alternative media, you get this impression, and most people have that impression that we've pushed off the war. Now, we didn't see the original estimations and what we all thought quite literally was going to happen, and that was the bombing and the obliteration and the Iraq 2.0 in Syria. But what we have now is some pretty overt and not really that covert, but just some big moves that only a few people outside of our niche have even noticed. And the alternative media, for the most part, is kind of asleep at the wheel. although I have seen some scant mention of the fact that we're selling a lot of these anti-tank missiles to Saudi Arabia. Well, that doesn't seem like a big deal. Congress knows about 9,000, thereabouts, 9,000 anti-aircraft and anti-tank missiles have been sold to Saudi Arabia. Now, they just put in for a $1 billion purchase for 15,000 new Raytheon missiles. So, if you don't really keep up with what's going on, no big deal. We just sell weapons. That's what we do. That's what Hagel is paid to do, is go out there and sell weapons for Raytheon and the military-industrial complex. But people have caught on, at least a few, that they're not going to be fighting any tanks anytime soon. Saudi Arabia doesn't have a tank war that's going to be happening any time in the near future, and they ultimately have no use for these weapons. So, of course, the obvious question, and it leads us to the obvious answer, is where are they going? And they're all going to Syria. So the battle wages on. And there's also this propaganda battle that's happening where they're saying that the Free Syrian Army rebel leader, amongst others, are defecting and going into cahoots with Al-Qaeda, Al-Nusra, these other Wahhabist groups and the like, and freedom fighters. So it's pretty interesting because people have totally forgotten what's happening in Syria and think that there's this kumbaya and that we've won, and the alternative media and the people's voice. And you were talking about this earlier. Don't, as soon as you just kind of tune out and you forget about it and you just get enamored with, I'm offended about Duck Dynasty. I wish I was going to get season 10 and this is horrible and blah, blah, blah. People are still championing something, and rightfully so, because that's what most people believe, because most people don't spend as much time as you and I do. And let's be honest, we're not sponsored by corporate interests. We're not trying to sell shows to, a network executive. We're not doing things that are publicly critical. Our jobs do not necessarily depend on our political opinions. So we have a freedom with this show that others don't. That's really great.
No, I agree with that. And I'm listening to you talk there, and I'm thinking that the whole time that it's news. We've been trained to digest news in increments, right? And if it isn't inside that dimension, that news cycle, 24, 48-hour news cycle, unless it's an urgent crisis that needs its own theme music, maybe it will go on for a week or two. But once it gets past that, it loses all shelf life, and it just really just doesn't exist if it's not put on Fox or CNN or one of these networks. And that's exactly what happened with Syria. And you're right. There was a big chunk of the independent media community that let this go by the wayside. I did tons of videos on the fact that we were being led into another. You said Iraq 2.0. I was thinking more Libya 2.0, but and then talked about how the pushback from the public, and there was a lot of average Joe waking up to the fact that we're being led into yet another war to depose another government, destabilize another nation. And I think that did have some effect, but you're 100% correct when you say things haven't stopped inside of Syria. The pressure hasn't stopped in that region. In fact, it's probably ramped in a different direction and continues to be a place that we could eventually see the loss of life, both our side and the folks in Syria or in that region. I find it unbelievable that I've not heard an establishment or alternative. In fact, this will probably be the topic of a video coming up. But the dialogue that was on Assad, right? The damning this man to hell, the comparisons between him, Satan, Adolf Hitler, and Genghis Khan, every other tyrant you can think of, he was it. He was it. And it wasn't just Doug or Joe Rogan or Alex Jones or Jeff Prince or somebody like that in independent media saying that. This was from the halls of power of Washington, D.C., the representatives of America that the world sees was being told that this guy was the devil and he had to go. Here we are, and we're not even 6 months later. We're 90 days later. We're half of a football season later, and we're saying now that the tune is completely changed, and no one is picking up on it. No one would say, "Wait a minute, wait just a minute. How on earth can we go from one extreme to the other extreme with just a few weeks passing by?" And nobody's calling out this out of control government that has no problem lining up enemies for us to fight, lining up people for us to kill, lining up nations for us to destabilize for erroneous, now proven over and over and over again reasons. It's amazing to me, Doug Owen.
Yes. It's not really that amazing, though, because most people are just trying to do their own thing. They're trying to get along. They're trying to live their lives. So I don't think that it's really that abnormal that most people just don't care. And when you look at the options that
I swear to God, it's almost like a test. It's almost like a test, right? We'll throw up this balloon. So
right.
Says the power elite, right? Okay, what we're going to do is we're going to do this. We're going to make a plan. We're going to tell the people of the world that Hitler, that Mussolini, that Satan himself is inside of Syria, and we're going to pound the drums of war, and we're going to see how quick they salute this flag, and then we're going to pop we're going to draw the flag down, we're going to pop the balloon and go the exact other direction, and we're going to see how much response we get, and when we get nothing, we will know that we can get away with anything. When they just don't give a crap anymore because they've been so desensitized to murder, to pillage, to toppling of governments and destabilizing the world. When the people no longer care, we won't have to make any excuses for anything that we'll do. We'll just run roughshod over the planet and implement our agenda. And if you look at some of the things happening, headlines today coming out about NSA and what Greenwald's revealing to the EU, and what some of the former NSA top officials are saying about the police state status of this country, it seems to be a plan that's working just fine. Most people do care about Ducks Dynasty season whatever. They do care about Paula Dean or whatever her name is and her comments that she had to make. They do care about the gladiator games of the day, but they could give a crap less what alphabet agencies are doing to their freedom, to their future.
Well, the general masses of people. But see, that's the thing, is that we can all my point was really that we can appreciate Duck Dynasty. We can appreciate Christmas Jammy. But that doesn't mean that we have to be completely politically ignorant and unaware of what's happening in the world around us. That you can have both. You don't have to be. But I digress. I mean, there's no absolutes in this world. You can enjoy stupid YouTube videos. I do. That doesn't mean that I want to be oblivious to the new world order. By the way, did you hear today? There's been a big announcement besides our good friend and I would call him a financial terrorist, Ben Bernanke. He is exiting stage left, and they're bringing in a more diverse and powerful lady type, Miss Yellen. So not that has excited the stock market much, but there is change that none of us really believe in. But did you hear about the banking union that just took place? It's a big deal. EU technocrats are, they've basically reached this sovereignty-crushing banking union deal. Yeah. Did you hear about this? So
absolutely.
They're pooling war. Okay, France is spearheading this in Africa by bringing in all right upon the acknowledgement of the death of Nelson Mandela. I'll put it plainly. I believe that he was on ice for a while. Okay, he was on the life support, and they decided to do this, and it was very well timed. If not, it doesn't matter. The coincidence is pretty shocking that the French are starting recolonization, the new push, and they need a lot of money, and they want the EU army. It's not quite created yet, but they have the United Nations, and they have some other bodies like NATO that they will be using to quote unquote liberate the African people. I don't think there's any coincidence to that, my friend. But just listen to this. I mean, this is from AFP, so it's pretty passe. It's watered down. the agreement, quote, by member states for a single resolution mechanism. So this is when any bank basically goes bust, they have to bail them out. The European Stability Mechanism, the ESM, comes into effect. But basically, they say the new framework means, quote, a big pooling of sovereignty. This is going to be a buzzword. This is going to be a talking point. Pooling of sovereignty. Now, I'd like to do that maybe with you, Charlie McGrath. We could pool our sovereignty together and figure out some cool stuff that we could do. Maybe with some of the doomers. But when your state is pooling sovereignty and your country is pooling sovereignty, that means that basically they have an EU cross-border authority.
That's
explaining in large part why the talks have taken over a year this far and, of course, have been in secret. The only X factor, the only filibuster, or the possible turd in the proverbial punch bowl may be Angela Merkel and the Germans, because they're like, this is bull crap, and the Ukrainians are broke, and they're screwing around with us over there, they've got some problems because, and there's a proxy war going on. Of course, I didn't even put that down in the notes to talk about, but the power pull and the strangulation of the people in the Ukraine, they're in this power shift that is happening there between the West and, of course, Mother Russia.
Right. Well, I don't know where to go from there. I mean, the European Stability Mechanism, it has been talked about, especially in independent media, for quite some time as a sovereignty usurping one European government institution from the get-go, that the nations that sign on to it have to give unlimited funds on demand and can never, ever request this money back or hold accountable the officers thereof of the ESM.
Oh my God! I'm not laughing at you, and I agree with you wholeheartedly. They have. It says it's a momentous day for #banking union. So I'm just curious what I'm going to get from Twitter. Our handle is banking. When I hashtag banking union. But these people are sucking each other off. They are such debt vampires. Maybe they're debt breathers.
Look, this ESM is tantamount to global financial governance. This is the model, right?
Right.
Look, and it starts with Greece, Cyprus. It starts with what you see play out in Europe right now, where you have massive unemployment, where you have a populace that's begging for help and begging for solutions. And it's all because of sovereign debt. It's all because of fantasy, fiat, fraudulent debt. And these ESM bankers, these technocrats, they engineered it from the get-go. They engineered this so that when it all comes boiling down, it all comes to a head, and it all comes crashing down, you have these mechanisms in place that kills freedom. It kills sovereignty. It erases borders, and it gives ultimate power to bankers with no chance of a nation, an independent sovereign nation, coming back for any kind of restitution from the ESM. They're above the law. They are, in effect, they're making themselves gods, lords over the population of 500 million people of Europe. And it's going to start there. It's going to start, as we've already seen, with bail-ins. And when those don't work, you have the ESM stepping in to bail out these institutions, bail out these private banks. And when that happens, you turn over your sovereignty to these countries. So Angela Merkel should be a little bit leery of what's going on, although I think that her and Schäuble, her finance minister, are neck deep in the ESM and have set themselves up for a position of power in the new governance coming over Europe.
Well, there's a lot of people that are excited, and I suggest all of you doomers go to Twitter, and I would go after @Barnier EU, which is BARNEIR. He says it's a momentous day for the banking union. The agreement by the ministers, the money gods, on the proposal for a single revolution, or excuse me, that's what they need. A resolution, a little Freudian slip, with the negotiations with the European Council can now start. So tell this douchebag that he sucks and that his banking union will fail, and they'll just be exporting debt onto the people. Now, there's a few X factors. Ireland is one. They're trying to get out of the bailout state. I don't know if you've been keeping up, but Greece, which used to be a big story, but now that the things have quieted down on the international stage, they're taking cash from the EU. So there's a lot of backstories here. There's a lot of things that are on the back burner that are not getting a lot of forward discussion and focus here in the U.S. But nothing's gone away. But
how can you? We were talking. We got Duck Dynasty to follow.
It moves forward. People talk about, the New World Order. I'm like, this is it, folks. Here it is. They're talking about it on Twitter. All these aristocrats and the bourgeoisie are putting together their plans to strangle and extract wealth and basically install Cypriot type bail-in systems. And that's what this is. That's what this is. And
that is what it is. And that's where it goes. It goes to a bail-in. I saw blacklisted news. I did hashtag banking union, and I got blacklisted news up here.
Nice.
EU technocrats reach sovereignty-crushing banking union deal. I'm going to retweet that right now.
That's my headline too.
I know. I like that. I just retweeted your headline. Good job.
Thanks. I take the AFP article. Here you go. I take the AFP article from Repost because you can, and it's free to use. And if you're a blogger, I suggest you do that rather than having copyright trolls chasing you down and try to sue you for money, because it could happen. And you just come up with your own headline. It's much more accurate. That's what Drudge does. Basically comes up with his own headlines, and people hail him as the best headline writer ever. And I don't know if that's true, but I would like to be maybe number 3 behind the now deceased Breitbart, who he would probably consider to be number 2. There was this craze that I thought was pretty disturbing, and there's been a little focus on over the last few years, and that is the move towards hand sanitizer everywhere, on keychains, on desks, kiosks around the world, just pumping all of this Purell stuff. You remember that the transition, like one day everybody was just spraying this stuff on everything and just gooping it all over their children, trying to keep them safe. Well, number one, it created superbugs, which is a bad idea because we're almost living in the age where antibiotics is irrelevant. It's getting to that point, at least according to doctors, but they always want to sell you something, so take that with a grain of salt. I don't know how bad they are, but I was reading about one of the key ingredients, and I go to the internet and I'm like, what's up with this stuff? And lo and behold, it has this stuff called triclosan in it. And triclosan is basically a neurotoxin. It disrupts your nervous system in a lot of different ways, and it is really, really bad stuff. And they link it with infertility and just a range of different studies over the last decade have been conducted. And now, just now, the FDA is saying, you know what, this stuff is so bad, we're going to have to take it off the shelves. They're actually going after some of these groups. And I guess it's just becoming, this might be one of the biggest, big suing fests, one of the biggest cases against big pharma in a long time, or against, for consumer rights and consumer products and people being harmed. What are those lawsuits? Civil lawsuits, I guess.
They would be class action.
Class action. They're saying it could be one of the biggest, and it's something that Europe had banned, and Germany, and all of these countries. And it's like you realize, wow. I mean, we really are guinea pigs for the rest of the world here in the United States. I heard this lady say that one time. She's like, we're the guinea pigs. We test all of the worst crap on ourselves, and it's absolutely true.
Well, you go to Germany right now, and you can find out what is genetically modified in your food by law, and we can't even get that kind of disclosure on what we're eating. Tell me though about this, because I'm not up to speed, Doug. So does that mean all hand sanitizers are now coming off the market?
No, that means the FDA has put out a warning and saying that they want to see more evidence. And it seems like there's been a shakeup at the FDA, because they're going after 23andMe, that genetic testing corporation that is basically getting everybody to send them a genetic profile and Well, they were selling some of that information to private companies, and they tell you
Well, how
that they're
handy.
going to. Well, they tell you in the fine print that they're going to do it. Of course, you don't know that they're selling your kids' DNA to, the army or, God only knows who. but you signed off on it. It's okay. Well, anyway, I mean, just you look into it. That and ADHD are probably for 2013. I mean, this is going to be probably our last show. I was looking at the schedule. Next Wednesday is Christmas. So I don't think that we're going to be doing a show that
We don't
day.
want to do a doomy Christmas.
I mean, to be honest, I would probably be home by by the end of that, and I really have nothing going on Christmas because we're living the bachelor lifestyle almost at the moment. So
maybe we might be in the same boat, Owen. Come next Wednesday.
Christmas Eve, totally out. We'll have a lot of other things going on, but Christmas Day, I think people are already so.
Maybe we'll do a 20-minute Christmas Day special. Doomy special.
Maybe, yeah.
So bring them with a doomy Christmas.
So I mean, this is pretty much our year in review show, where we look back.
We
should a little bit.
Okay, well let's do that. I mean, this is impromptu. We got 10 minutes left, but let's do it a little bit here. So you're saying year in review is the year of what? The year of the Superbug?
Oh, no. I'm just saying that this is the last show of 2013. It just kind of snuck up on me. I'm like, wow, we're not going to be doing another one. We're about to be into 2014, so it might be time to make some predictions. It might be time to look back and think
I
about.
I think 2013 was a pivotal year. I guess if I was looking at stories of 2013, I think, I mean, quickly, what do you think is the most engaging and the most critical story in 2013? And what I mean by that is, we could look at geopolitical wars and the overall feeling of we've been satisfied for our lust for war as a nation, or at least we woke up to the constant pushing after a decade of fighting the war on terror. And you saw the culmination in Syria kind of going sideways on the powers that be, if that indeed was their plan to go in and eliminate Assad. So, I mean, that certainly can be looked at. I feel that the alphabet agencies, namely the NSA, the exposure that Snowden was responsible for in large part, is a very pivotal story for 2013, in my opinion. Probably the most important for what I believe, which is waking people up to the tyrannical nature of that our government is taking. That the NSA leaks were top story.
Yeah. Other backstories: Barrett Brown, Anonymous, of course, Syria, the war and the turn, and now the proxy wars. I think that this may be the beginning of, the polarity between the U.S. and Russia. I think that is definitely happening. NSA, no doubt, these revelations and how big they are have been a big portion of what has been the, at least I think, eye-opening event for many people this year.
Yeah.
At least questioning the technology, and I think that's the most important thing, is that people have regained a healthy skepticism and distrust in their electronics, which is kind of sad too, because it does have a chilling effect. But I'm trying to think back on all these huge stories. The economy in standstill.
Yeah. I was going to go on to electronics. It really sucks because technology is so wonderful in some respects, right? I mean, what we're doing here right now, with and what we can do with our smartphones, our tablets, our computers, and how it does and how it can make life better. But it's really it certainly turned out to be a double-edged sword that is being exposed without a doubt was exposed in 2013 and will be going forward. I think we've just seen the tip of the iceberg when it comes to what is being done to capture your life electronically. Yeah.
Well, and people, it's not that you shouldn't be worried about it, but you should know exactly how you can leave yourself vulnerable and what you want to put out there and where it goes. I mean, and I guess that for me, and I think probably you and most people listening to this podcast, we always knew that the government was watching us anyway. I mean, back in when I first got on the internet, I'm like, the government's obviously listening to everybody. And it's not that, you're just
and you were wacko then, and now you're just proven right. I mean, yeah, they are.
Right. Now I have people like Bill Binney that'll, call the world a police state. And he broke Trailblazer and Stellar Wind back in 2001 when he left the agency. So, I mean, it shouldn't be a big shocker. And when it comes to, NSA and Snowden leaks and what's happening with, this new alternative media network that Omiadar, the billionaire that owns PayPal, where that goes, this is going to be the interesting narrative. I mean, all the rest of it I already knew about, but with Glenn Greenwald starting this alternative media network with some pretty interesting characters, Laura Poitras, as well as Jeremy Scahill, with this guy who makes money off PayPal. And remember, PayPal has been instrumental at defunding and attacking groups like WikiLeaks and taking their funding away. So there's a lot of conflicts of interest, and Pando Daily and a few other outlets have, including Sybil Edmonds, have put at least Glenn Greenwald's feet to the fire on this and the profitability of secrets. And that's where it goes from here. Okay, so we know about Edward Snowden. Where did the next generation of whistleblowers go to reveal truth to the American people? And will that be a huge honeypot? But you know what the biggest story I think of 2013 has to be is Bitcoin. Bitcoin has been the biggest roller coaster. Cryptocurrencies and the plastic gun. Let's not forget the plastic gun, people. 3D printing.
3D printing, yeah.
Those might be the two biggest technological advances that or at least, forward stories that we saw this year. And so
Bitcoin is, you and I have, we don't claim to be experts on it, but we seem to touch on it. This is number 21.
It's very important. I mean, this is the escape from the banking union. Okay, right. This is the opposite. Now, it is completely trackable and traceable. Trackable, is that a word? Traceable and can track you digitally. This is the cashless control system. And if there is no control and it's peer-to-peer, it is definitely cashless, and we're moving in that direction, which I don't necessarily agree with. And there's people that are friends of mine that are, great liberty activists that are proponents and advocates of Bitcoin and that will argue with me night and day. Actually, several of our doomers, our listeners out there, have sent in emails saying they want a show. Daryl, you wanting a show where we just focus on Bitcoin, breaking it down, giving the pros and cons. Because I think a lot of people want us to do it because they know that we won't pull any punches, and that we're completely unbiased, and we're not married to these systems. And I'm not getting money from, selling this or even using it as a platform to take donations. So we can be honest about it and tell people the pros and cons. Same thing with what's happening with the information that's coming out in these new conduits and these new media outlets. We can be hypercritical. We don't have to, cater and kowtow to people, and celebrity to get our message out.
No, and maybe that would be. I mean, maybe what we need to do early in 2014 in the Doomcast is to bring on, we've threatened to bring on guests, and we said that we would definitely, when we did this, it wouldn't be from the proverbial Rolodex of alternative media. We would bring in people that we thought were going to be a benefit to the listeners, and maybe that's what we need to do is get a good opponent and proponent of Bitcoin, and listen to the jive that there's some people that think it's going to be $2,000 in the next couple months. There's other people that think that it's going to lose 99% of its value between now and midsummer 2014. Somewhere in there lies the truth. And maybe that would be a good program to break.
Well,
down.
and they're trying to compete with it now. J.P. Morgan
Yeah.
tried their best to get a patent on a cryptocurrency, and I think it was rejected in 121 different ways. So that's good for the cryptocurrency world, and I think that more and more of that's going to shift. And of course, the power is always shifting. It's shifting towards the printer. It's shifting towards the individual. I mean, you look at what's happening now with the workforce. It's a lot easier just to have you work at your house in certain jobs. Let's say
Right.
I've got a buddy that works at Apple. Why have the Apple campus there if you don't have to, and you have everybody else paying for their own electricity rather than you having to pay for their electricity, and you have them working as contractors so you don't have to take on that, and you have people that are sitting at home. Well, that's good in a lot of ways because it relieves traffic on the highways. But it changes things, and it changes where the grid has to be focused. You need more residential grid and less commercial grid. There's going to be less commercial buildings, all that kind of stuff. Kind of ways into the planning.
Plus, you can work in your Christmas jammies.
I am right now. That's why we don't do the video. There's a couple of promotions I want to throw out there. I think that we need a logo contest. I've got a guy that is willing to, hopefully, and if not, I saw you sporting your really, really nice Wide Awake News t-shirt. So if the guy that I'm going to propose this to isn't willing to do it, then I'm sure we can find some avenue. But I think that we need a logo, a Doomcast logo, and we should have a contest. And the listeners out there, you artists that are willing to send us a Doomcast logo, some kind of, I don't know necessarily a mascot, but something that would be friendly to print onto a t-shirt. And then we take the best one. Of course, we show all of the contestants' art on the new Doomcast.com website when it comes in 2014, along with other
excited.
things. Now, I hate to put you on the spot, but where are we at with that, Charlie McGrath?
Yeah, we're going to be rolling. Yeah. Okay. Well,
because I'm thinking about some cool stuff.
Wait, I'm checking my records. No,
it's all blown up. It doesn't work, and it's impossible. No, I don't.
No. We're gonna roll it out early in 2014. A collaborative website between Doug Owen and myself. It will be Doomcast.com, and we'll be looking for it January.
Yeah. So
yeah. And there will be in that site will be a consolidated chat room, a place where you can listen to us do the program live when we do record it, and also things like this contest that you just announced that I didn't know was coming, but I think it's a great idea. We'll be able to put that kind of information, plus maybe a little more personal news,
a formal blog, blog. Yeah, that'd be cool.
I think so too. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that this is just, I mean, we'll see if there's any interest in how much response we do get. But I do want to get some T-shirts and some other kind of cool promotional stuff.
Well, since we started it, right, on Spreaker, I think you went from, 1,200 to over 6,000 people that are following the Doomcast there now.
Yeah.
18,000 downloads on Spreaker, and I don't know how many thousand on YouTube. So, I mean, yeah, it's certainly gaining traction, and it will be, hopefully continue to be successful. I think what you said a minute ago about what's happening with these so-called independent news sites coming out, I think that's very, very interesting. There's going to be a lot of energy in real independent media covering establishment independent media. I mean, we have to coin a new phrase here. We're going to have
the alternative media is so yesterday. It's like, the people that say, well, it's organic. They're like, oh, well, organic. You don't want to eat organic. You want to go beyond organic. Are you a granola hippie? No, I'm a crunchy granola hippie.
That's
so
right.
You take it to the next level, and I think that there's going to be, we're going to have to coin something. Yeah. We're going to have to coin something, and then we'll run with it.
Your establishment alternative.
Because alternatives, I mean, okay, think about this. The other synonyms. Alternative lifestyle, what does that mean? Alternative music, Nirvana, it's not rock and roll, it's not rap, it's not R&B, it's not hip hop, it's not classical. We don't know what it is.
Yeah.
What else? Alternative fuels sounds nice, but doesn't work. Doesn't work very well. Not maybe
There's always
practical for you. You might not be able to, gas up your whatever it is, your cold fusion water driven
So you said
car.
we got to get away from alternative altogether because
I'm
it's
just
got a
saying that
connotation
it's
of failure.
It
got a
kind of is.
connotation of failure.
I mean, when you manifest things and when you look at what you're trying to do, I mean, you shouldn't model yourself after failure.
Let's go after the success of look at the success of Duck Dynasty and this homegrown down home family genre,
Ooh.
right? So maybe it's common sense media or something along those lines,
Yeah, I mean, don't give anybody ideas until we figure this out, though.
Wholesome media.
Wholesome, no, that's not going to. People are going to listen to the beginning of this show and think, no,
Nope.
not going to work.
Nope.
I mean, the only reason we named this thing Doomcast is so the CIA and other agencies that may get wind of what we're doing here and bringing you raw, unedited truth will look at the name and like, what, Doomcast? No, we don't have to worry about those guys. We're not going to kill them. Nah, they're not whackable. Nobody's going to listen to them anyway. So for you out there that don't like the name, a few of you that were very vocal at the beginning of doing this, during the first episode.
I haven't had a complaint on Doomcast on the name for a while.
I know. People have embraced it, and they figured out exactly what the angle was and what it's all about. Because initially people thought, well, this is a horrible name. But now people embrace it. And I think that initially people thought the alternative media sounds great, but starting to have second guesses.
Mike Rivero, he's the first one I heard coin independent media, which I like. I like independent media. I like it better than alternative because because alternative is overdone, number one, and independent is alternative. Almost
the independent alternative. Like that.
Interesting.
I'll have to work on it, Charlie McGrath. We'll figure it out.
We'll figure it out. I got to get this website up in the next few weeks.
Yeah, there you go. That's
let's
all Doug wants for Christmas is a new
is a
Doomcast
new website.
Give
me some parameters here on our contest. Are we announcing this, or are we going to announce this?
No, I mean we're announcing it. We want people to send in their logos, anything that they artwork for a T-shirt, and we'll put together a T-shirt, and then we'll have a contest to give some of them away free, and then we'll obviously sell them at Doomcast.com.
I like it.
I think that's cool. It's something where we give back and people can support us and get something in return that ultimately will be a promotional item for the show. And so everybody wins. More people that contribute, more people that comment on the YouTube videos, on the Spreaker station, and of course at Doomcast.com that follow us on Twitter. It just creates more of a community and it expands that for everyone.
Absolutely. And
gives you more crazy people to talk to in the chat room.
That's exactly right. Well, in our goal, right from the get-go was to take this independent movement and bring it closer to try to influence people who are really becoming ill watching stories about Duck Dynasty and pop culture infotainment and looking for truth outside of establishment media. And to get near to those folks, we wanted to interject a little bit of humor and a little bit of a really common sense point of view of average day Doug and Charlie. And I think we're doing that. I mean, I don't think we're delving too deep into the rabbit hole of the NWO to scare people off. We are trying to draw people in.
Don't fall and break your ankle in the New World Order. It's dangerous. Yeah, well, and I think that it's also for the more heady, aware listeners, they can appreciate it as well because we all, we look at the same info and we look at I think most of us that come from a more freedom-based individual perspective rather than the collective.
Look, there's a lot of people that just need to hear what they're thinking in their head. They need to hear somebody else say that.
Yeah.
Because they want, as soon as they hear that, they understand they're not alone. They're not alone in seeing, this insanity called the war on terror. They're not alone seeing this out of control government spying on everything that they do. And they don't want to speak out on this because it's been driven into everybody's head that if you challenge or question this government, or you challenge or question the war on terror, then you're not a patriot, that you're anti-American, that you're a tinfoil hat wearer. And there's just a lot of people that I believe are ready to step out of that mold of what they're told to be and think for themselves. And I'm hoping in 2014 we can continue to try to help wake people up to that.
Yeah, and if you want to send us any entries, you can send them to Charlie or me, Doug, at blacklistednews.com. Throw out that email there, Charlie McGrath.
If you want to send me some info at wideawakenews.com. My name is Charlie McGrath. My website's wideawakenews.com. Doug Owen is my co-founder of Doomcast. His website is blacklistednews.com. We will be back maybe on Christmas Day, Doug. What do you think?
Maybe. Yeah, maybe. I might be up for it. Well, it depends on the response. We'll see.
There you go.
Till next time, take care, everyone.
Peace out.
All right. Sweet.
I'm exhausted.
I bet.
I think I bled too much.
Yeah, you need to get some iron back into your...
I'm telling you, right? It looks like I've been shot. I'm looking in this garbage can here at all these tissues that